When Paul first came to our city, he didn't come like the others. No robes, no bravado, no lofty speech. We had heard philosophers before. We knew what polished arguments sounded like. But Paul came with trembling in his voice and a message that made no sense to our ears. Later, in the letter we received, he explained why. He wrote, "And I, when I came to you, brothers, did not come proclaiming to you the testimony of God with lofty speech or wisdom. For I decided to know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and Him crucified." That was the foundation of everything he said. Not a system, not a strategy, just Jesus crucified. And then he said, "I was with you in weakness and in fear and much trembling, and my speech and my message were not in plausible words of wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, so that our faith, my faith, would not rest in human wisdom, but in the power of God." I remember thinking, what kind of power comes through fear and trembling? But I understand it now. Paul wasn't trying to impress us. He was letting the Spirit speak for himself. He said, "Yet among the mature we do impart wisdom, although it is not a wisdom of this age or of the rulers of this age, who are doomed to pass away." We had built our lives on the wisdom of the age, the opinions of the powerful. But Paul said all of that was fading. He wrote, "But we impart a secret and hidden wisdom of God, which God decreed before the ages for our glory." None of the rulers of this age understood this, for if they had, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. That line stopped me. The rulers of this world had the Messiah in front of them, and they couldn't see him. They saw weakness. They saw a threat. But they missed the Lord of glory. Then Paul gave us words that stirred something deep in my soul. "What no eye has seen, nor ear heard, nor the heart of man imagined." What God has prepared for those who love him. He added, "These things God has revealed to us through the Spirit. For the Spirit searches everything, even the depths of God." I used to think the things of God were out of reach, reserved for scholars or prophets. But Paul told us we have access, not through intellect, but through the Spirit. He wrote, "For who knows a person's thoughts except the spirit of that person, which is in him? So also no one comprehends the thoughts of God except the Spirit of God." And then he said something remarkable. "Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit who is from God, that we might understand the things freely given us by God." Not earned, not unlocked, freely given. But not everyone sees it. Paul wrote, "The natural person does not accept the things of the Spirit of God, for they are folly to him. He is not able to understand them because they are spiritually discerned." That explained so much. Why so many laughed at the message of the cross? Why the gospel felt like weakness to the world? Why it once felt like foolishness to me? And yet, something had shifted, because now I saw it. We have received the Spirit of God. And Paul closed that section of the letter with a declaration I'll never forget. "For who has understood the mind of the Lord so as to instruct him? But we have the mind of Christ." That's what changes everything. Not just believing in Christ, but thinking with his mind. Seeing as he sees, loving as he loves. We don't need to perform. We don't need to pretend. We have the Spirit. We have the mind of Christ. That is wisdom the world will never understand.